I want to continue today topic that we started on Havaya Hu Elikim. God is the Lord. As we said yesterday, God says in Deuteronomy 4, verse 39, and we say it every day in our prayers in Aleinu, so we say it at least 3 times a day, that God says, you shall know today and return to your heart. Know in your brain, return to your heart, means to really internalize it in our hearts, that God is the Lord and the heavens above and the earth below, nothing more. The question is, what does it mean God is the Lord? So yesterday we said the simple meaning is that God, who is beyond the world, is the Lord and is involved in the world. That was the simple meaning. We quoted the Holy Zohar. The Holy Zohar says that what does it mean God is the Lord? We have an obligation mystically, according to Jewish mysticism, what God wants in this verse is that we should know that the name Havaya, the name of revelation, the name of compassion, the name of loving kindness, and revelation is the same like the name Elokim, which represents concealment, constriction, and judgment. And yesterday we went off to try to explain how it's very interesting to understand how is it possible that these two that are so polar opposites are actually exactly the same. So we gave yesterday the simple, not the simple, the first answer that, and we said that Chassidus basically explains to us that God is not revelation. God is beyond revelation too. This is one of the big mistakes that people often make before they learn Chassidus. They think of God in terms of infinite or in terms of revelation or spirituality. We're still going to see that when we're going to talk a bit more about the idea that Judaism is about physical actions, different than quite contrary to a lot of other religions that it's all about the spiritual. And Judaism puts such a strong emphasis on the physical. But the idea that we're trying to drive home now is that even being infinite or revelation is only an expression of the essence of God. Once you understand that, you understand that concealment and revelation are not different than each other. Why? And the way we explained it yesterday was that the immature perspective always tells you that the definition of something is its revelation. But when you go a tiny bit deeper, you understand that the definition is never its revelation, it's its essence. And once you understand that, you understand that the essence could have two polar expressions. The example that we gave yesterday was wisdom. Wisdom is usually translated as the expression of wisdom. But then we ask the question, if a wise person sees an argument that most people in the world would get involved in, but he, with his wisdom, chooses to be silent. Is that silence an expression of wisdom or stupidity? So everybody really understands that it's an expression of wisdom. Even though we usually define wisdom as an expression of a revelation of wisdom, but that's not really the real truth. The real truth is that wisdom means to be wise. Being wise could have two different expressions. One is revealing wisdom, and one, wisdom sometimes commands silence. Wisdom commands not to reveal. Or, yesterday we spoke about decision making. Decision making also comes from a certain understanding. How do you make decisions? By not only understanding the pros and the cons, but also putting boundaries onto the pros and the cons. In other words, it could be one pro that is going to weigh so much more than 15 cons, or vice versa. So the limitation, the boundaries, the borders of something, is not lower than its revelation. Constriction and infinitude, they're the one and the zeros, right? That so many things are in this world are made of revelation and its boundaries. They're not opposites. They are other expressions of the same thing. Another good example would be when you come up with a solution for something, or you come up with an idea. So some people will say, wow, that's an interesting idea. And they'll take this idea into so many different areas of life. But only if you really understand the idea, you know where this idea works and where this idea doesn't work. In other words, every idea has its yes, its positive, but also has its borders, its boundaries. And in fact, understanding the boundaries of ideas sometimes takes much more talent and maturity than understanding the actual idea. Teachers know it, and this is a very interesting phenomenon, that when a kid asks a good question by mistake, sometimes kids ask a good question. It's very hard to give them a good answer, because usually the answers, I'm talking, let's say you teach a kid Gemara or Mishnah or Halacha, and he comes up with a very good question, with a contradiction. How do you usually have to answer such a question? What would be the art of answering that question? It's to put things into their right borders, into their right quadrants. That's nice. Yeah, and explain the difference between A and B, because A and B seemingly looks like a contradiction. So if a child comes and asks you a question about the contradiction of A and B, he might very well understand the question, but the answer will have a much harder time to understand, because the answers are usually based by explaining the boundaries of A, the boundaries of B, and why A and B are very different. Yeah, Keel, does it make sense? Do I have you?
Yeah.
So basically, at this stage in the Mimer, this is only a recap of yesterday. In this stage in the Mimer,
Oh, man. Oh, Shema.
So in this stage in the Mimer, what are we basically saying? That when the Zohar says that a person has to know, that God wants us to know, you shall know today and return to your heart that that God is the Lord, and the heavens above and the earth below, nothing more. You should know when you see darkness, when you see concealment, or basically when you don't see God, don't think that that is not God. That is also an expression of God. And therefore, God cannot conceal himself. This is a very important, interesting halacha. Halacha says certain things, you have to cover your head. You can't say God's name with a exposed head. How would you say uncovered head? So exposed?
Yeah.
Now, the question in halacha is, could you cover your head with your own hands?
No.
Why not?
Because you can't do that all the time.
Because you can't, what?
You can't do that all day.
No. Okay, so covering your head the whole day is already a minhag. But we're talking about when you daven or something like that. Because it's a very philosophical halacha. You can't cover yourself with yourself. Why can't you cover yourself with yourself? Could anyone explain to me, why can't you cover yourself with yourself? God doesn't say that you have to cover your whole being, just cover your head. What is the answer? The answer is that the hands and the head are merely two expressions of you. So you can't cover you with you. Get the idea?
Yeah.
So if we understand that concealment is also God, So that cannot conceal God. The only thing is, you need to be mature enough that, just like the example that we gave yesterday with the peekaboo, that when you go to a child and you say, "Where's Tati? Where's Tati? Where's Tati? Here is Tati," and it doesn't work once the child is 2 years old, is because this is nothing less Tati than this. This is just the revelation of Tati, and this is something that is not so unique to Tati because it's not so easy to differentiate between my hands and Ezra's hands. But really, could Tati cover his face with his hands?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Meaning to say, you're right.
Yeah.
Cover
He
his
can't
face.
can't
cover
his
himself.
himself.
He can't cover himself with his hands because his hands are also himself. So basically, really, at this stage in the Maimer, what are we basically explaining? That there's a concept, we're introducing the concept of essence. And actually, this is a very interesting concept. Chassidus drives back again, time and again. It's a concept that Chassidus takes, I think, from philosophy. The idea of essence. Essence means when you strip something from all of its expression, then you reach its essence. What is the essence of something? The essence of something is abstract. The essence of something is, for example, take the idea of a table. What would philosophy say? What is the definition of a table?
legs.
Oh, legs and
Surface.
legs and a surface. What if I would show you a table that doesn't have any legs? It's a piece of wood, or it's a board of wood, and it's hanging with chains from the ceiling. Is it not a table? It's still a table. Or someone would say, you know what a table is? A wooden plank on 4 feet. I'll show you a plastic plank on wooden feet. So what does that do to you? From a philosophical perspective, what does that do to you? It explains to you that the idea of table is abstract. What is a table? We'll have to think about a very good definition, but that definition has to be stripped from any type of expression. Because once it's an expression, it's not a table anymore. It's an expression of table. You understand the idea? I think this is originally an idea from Aristotle. But it was introduced, I think the origins of this idea are originally from Aristotle, and then Maimonides brings it in the Guide for the Perplexed, which is one of the major philosophy books in Judaism. And then Chassidus uses it for a lot of things to understanding of God's essence. We'll discuss it in other classes why this is so important. But what Chassidus really believes is the real understanding of how to see God on his turf, not only to see God as a reflection of someone providing our needs. When you really start caring about the other, about him, not about what you want out of him, comes through the understanding. But the main thing, what is important for our mimer over here is that the idea of essence, you understand, it's not about God's revelation, it's about God. Now, God has 2 ways of expressing himself. One is through revelation, and one is through concealment. And concealment is also God. So when you don't see God, that, since there's nothing but God, that concealment, when you ask where is God, that is God. That is God. So it's like asking when daddy's covering his face, where is daddy? There's a famous story with the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe raised his grandson. Yeah, you know the story? The Alter Rebbe's grandson. The third Rebbe in Chabad. The first Rebbe in Chabad was who? The Alter Rebbe. Yeah, we're going to celebrate this week as the day of passing. His anniversary of his passing, the 24th of Tevet. He was the founder of Chabad Chassidus. He wrote the Tanya. He's called in Chabad the Alter Rebbe. What does Alter mean? The older, the old Rebbe. Then came his son, the Mittler Rebbe. The middle is middle, the middle Rebbe. And then came his grandson. But this grandson wasn't like a son's son, it was a daughter's son. He became Rebbe mainly because he was raised by his grandfather. Unfortunately, it's a whole long story. Unfortunately, his mother passed away when he was very young. So basically, his grandfather raised him.
Not his father.
No, his father left.
Oh wow.
His father left. Unfortunately, his wife passed away young. I think he left to Israel, to Eretz Israel. So he really invested in him. So as I said, one of the ideas in Chassidus is the idea of essence. So there's a story like that the Alter Rebbe turns to the small Menachem Mendel. Menachem Mendel was the name of the Tzemach Tzedek, and he says, "Where is Zaidi?" So he's a small child. What does he do? Zaidi, this is Zaidi. He says, "No, this is not Zaidi. This is Zaidi's hand." So he touches his face. He says, "No, this is Zaidi's cheeks." Touches his eyes. This is Zaidi's eyes. Where is Zaidi? So small Menachem Mendel was very smart. What did he do? He went. He hid behind something. Then he said, "Zaidi!" And Zaidi turns around. Says, "Yes! Okay, this is Zaidi." What is the idea? What did the Alter Rebbe try to teach him? And what is the message? He tried to teach him that don't go for the details. The details, that's not essence. Details, we have to discuss at a different time if you're interested to really understand how this is like a game changer in life. Understanding that the details relate to what you see. You don't see the essence. It's like not seeing the forest for its trees. Sometimes even religious people, you could see a certain halacha and not realize the God behind it because you're so stuck in the detail. Details are always expressions of things. Expressions of things are always related to you. But if you want to connect to something truly, you have to connect to its essence. Yeah.
Is that like representing like superficiality? Like when somebody meets someone, they're just focused on the details, not like the essence of the person, or no?
100%. Sometimes we're superficial, but when someone, when we spoke about before Rabbi Vichnan's wedding, we discussed the idea of a Jewish bride coming to the chuppah covered.
Yeah.
What is the idea? The idea is that I want to tell you, you're taking my essence. You're not taking me for my looks. Yeah, even though the brides invest a lot of time and energy to look very good the night of their wedding, right? But still, it's all about the essence. Once you're stuck in a detail, or let's say you get along with Keel, right?
I do.
Let's say, and I ask you, what do you like about Keel? Say, what do you mean? It's a great sense of humor, very straight thinker, a real person, an honest person. What did he just say? He's just said 4 traits of Keel that you appreciate. So it's not about him, ultimately. It's about you happen to be an honest person and you are connected or attracted to honesty in other people.
But that is not still the other person. If someone's an honest person.
It's something of, very good, it's something of that other person that appeals to you.
Okay.
When people make a pact, for example, what do they say? I love your essence, and therefore even when you'll go on my nerves, I'll still be there for you.
Manas Friedman talks a little bit about
It's like the difference between saying I love you
Yeah.
or I love the ice cream. When you love the ice cream, you love the ice cream because the ice cream is sweet and what the ice cream does for you.
Yeah.
If you would really love the ice cream, you wouldn't eat it.
Yeah.
You're annihilating it, literally annihilating it. You would have kept it in the freezer and just open it every day and tell them how sweet, hello, and pat it and say how sweet it is.
True.
So what's the difference in loving ice cream and really loving the other person? Do you love the other person? So obviously, things are always expressed in details, but there's the essence. I am here for you, even if it's not going to be easy. It's a whole different shift of thinking. So it's nothing wrong to like Keel's honesty, or Keel's being a person of values. That's nothing wrong with that. But essence is when you go beyond that. So you meet a girl and you say, "Oh, all these traits," but now I'm willing to take that leap and love you who you are. gaining out of you. Not it's like even if yeah, thick and thin will make it work.
But how would that work in the context of a friend?
Same thing. You
Like, isn't honesty their essence? Isn't being a good person?
it's an
their
expression. Right. Okay. So let's say you catch Keel once doing something dishonest. That's it. It's over.
essence? No.
Okay. Why? Because you have the ability to see his essence beyond
Oh, I see.
the. So in the beginning, you'll be attracted to his values, but then I think you'll be there for him even things. There's in the Torah, there is one place that describes a friend. Anyone remembers where in the Torah is someone called someone's friend? So the Torah says the following: Judah, one of the sons of Jacob, goes and sees a prostitute, and he is with her, but he doesn't have money to pay. So what does he give her as collateral? His staff, his wick, and his
Rings?
ring. Well, ring back in the day was a ring with a stamp, right? Then he wants to get back the collateral, so he wants to send payment. So the pasuk says the only place in the Torah that someone is called someone's friend, like in the context. There's another place that's like the ox of my friend, right? But it doesn't. So he sends his friend with the payment to pick up his collateral. Says the Kotzker Rebbe that is the real meaning of a friend in the Torah. Who would feel comfortable sending a friend to pay a prostitute in order to pick up the collateral? So what is a real friend? That you could send him to pay a prostitute because you feel so safe that they won't judge you. They won't judge you even for such a thing.
Wow.
This was a few weeks in the parsha, so it was my Shabbos table. I wanted to get everyone's attention. So I said I want to confess about something. I didn't use this example. I said one Shabbos afternoon I was very, very hungry, and the only restaurant that is open in Ben Yehuda is the McDonald's. So I bought a cheeseburger, but it was Shabbos. I didn't have any money, so I left them with my ID card. So Sunday I was too busy at work, so I was looking for someone to go pick up the ID card, but I had to explain to him the story. It was Shabbos afternoon, I was so hungry, and I ate treif. And I asked them, who over here has a friend that he would feel comfortable enough to send them to pick up their ID from McDonald's? So what is real love, Yosef? Real love is, but obviously I appreciate the person's the person's values. But once he becomes my friend, a true friend is that I accept his essence. And even if he slips, even if he falls, even he doesn't have the ability to withhold his, not withhold, how do you say? Hold up. That's the hold up his values. It's still, I see his essence.
Yeah.
See his essence. The same as with marriage. Every time you make a pact, what are you basically saying? I want you. Going to make it work even when it's going to be tough. So in general, the idea of essence is a very powerful idea that comes up almost in every context in Chassidus. It's a game changer in terms of maturity and understanding how to differentiate, how to think also abstractly, but also how to differentiate something from its expression. So the same happens in our mimer over here. We are trying to explain what the Zohar says, that God is the Lord, and we say, how could you say God is the Lord? God, the name Havaya, is all about revelation. The name Elokim is all about concealment. How could there be one? Says yes, once you introduce the idea of essence, revelation and concealment are two expressions of the same God.
Wow.
But Chassidus is still not happy with this. Chassidus says, no, we need something deeper. Why? Because if the Holy Zohar says that God is the Lord, means that the name Havaya and the name Elokim are both the same, it's not enough to say that they're both the same in terms of expression. Also, their function has to be the same. And since the function of Havaya is revelation, Elokim also has to be a revelation. Not only an expression, but also a revelation. Comes Chassidus, and Chassidus explains, guys, make sure not that you're buckled in, you shouldn't fall out of your chair. Comes Chassidus, and Chassidus explains that what? That not only is the concealment an expression of God, it's a revelation of God. When you don't see God, God is expressing himself through that darkness. And that's where I used yesterday, and I said by mistake that I got ahead of myself. There's a concept called the deafening silence. What is a deafening silence? What's the difference between my example yesterday when I said the wise person is silent or a deafening silent? A wise person is silent was just an expression that a wise person knows that there's nothing what to do now. There's nothing what to say now. A deafening silence is a way to give a message. I'm communicating. Passive aggressive is a way of communicating. Comes Chassidus, and Chassidus says, don't forget your question, Yosef. Comes Chassidus, and Chassidus says that since that what the Zohar really wants us to know is that the concealment is also revelation. You just have to figure out how it's revelation. But God is constantly communicating to you. Not only should you, when there's no God or when you don't see revelation or someone is dealing with hardship in life, you ask, where is God? Will tell you the darkness is also God. No. More than that. You could communicate. You could connect to God through the concealment. The concealment is a way of talking to you. Why is God talking to us sometimes in a way of concealment? That's because sometimes that's the only language we understand. Sometimes this is the only way of communicating with us because we don't know how to deal with the revelation. For example, says the Rebbe Rashab in this famous mimer, with all what I spoke, all the things that I said is printed in the book To Know God by the Rebbe Rashab, and it's called V'yadata Moscow. It was said in Moscow. There's even a tale about this mimer, which wasn't confirmed by Chassidim, that the Rebbe Rashab was very ill. He had some cardiac issues, and he went to Moscow to go to the doctors. He came to Moscow, he said this mimer, and went back home. He didn't continue going to the doctor. So this story is not confirmed, but this is like one of the stories behind this mimer. Says the Rebbe Rashab in the mimer, you want to hear a good example about it? The example is from an example. A teacher is trying to teach some deep ideas, let's say about God with the Jewish people, but he's talking to kids. He's talking to people that can't think abstractly. So what does he do? He says a story about a king and his citizens, or a king with his son. Now, the child comes home, mommy asks, what did you learn today? He says, oh, the teacher taught us a story, a king with his son. Obviously, the mother will understand right away, just like the teacher understood when he was talking about the king and the son, who was he really talking about? God and the Jewish people. But for the child, because the child is still immature, what does he have over here? He has a story. He didn't get the idea. But in the story, the idea is encapsulated in the story. So the story is a concealment or a revelation?
Revelation.
It's a revelation. For the kids, it's a concealment. Because really, the revelation would be the abstract idea. But since a kid doesn't understand abstract ideas, the way to impart that idea to the kid is by putting it into a story of a king and a child. But a king and the child is not a concealment; it's a concealment for the child, but not for the parent, not for the teacher. So when you look in the world and you say, "Oh, all this concealment, I don't see God," that's because you didn't figure out that this is also God. This is a revelation of God, just like some celestial worlds up there. Yosef, what's your question?
No, you answered.
I already answered it.
No.
That's what they say. Good teachers answer questions before they're asked.
No.
What was the question? Still
No,
interested.
no,
It's like
it's
you're making me
just,
curious.
I was just comparing like how one answers their question. But it's all good. I don't know.
No problem. You sure?
Yeah.
Great. Very good. You get the idea? Let me use another silly example that I came up with, and I'm not sure it's not the example from Chassidus, but let's say I tell Ezra, I want to give you $1 million. Just like you mentioned before, Mr. Beast. I want to give you $1 million for not missing a day of Chassidus and how many months? Never misses. And he doesn't even live over here. He comes all the way here at 7:30 every morning like a soldier. And he works the whole day for the Board of Ed.
No. Half, part-time.
Part-time.
I remember when I missed days. So I don't have perfect attendance. There's some days that I missed. So
But you're having a pretty good run streak.
okay.
So I want to give him $1 million. I tell him, okay, I want to give you $1 million. We have an agreement. So he comes and starts asking for the $1 million, and he in his brain like sees like boxes of $100 bills, and then I tell him he feels maybe I'm leading him on. Am I really serious? But then I tell him, okay, in 2 months from now, the day comes closer. And he already every night, like in his dreams, he sees all those boxes, and he thinks I was going to bring the Brinks truck. You know, you have Brinks in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
What?
The bank trucks, yeah.
Yeah, the bank trucks.
Oh, bank truck.
It's called Brinks.
Brinks. I've never heard
Brinks
of
is like the.
They have armored trucks.
No, I know the armored trucks. So that's stuff like video
It
games.
says them at Brinks.
Oh, okay.
Maybe there's other companies too. The famous company is Brinks.
Yeah, I see.
We have all those Brinks trucks helping you give the money and things like that. I'm sorry, taking the money, and then how are you going to keep the money at home? Like, so you need like a special alarm system, like you're going crazy. Thing. Then it's already next week, and every day I see you. Okay, yeah, next week Monday morning, 10 o'clock, you'll come into my office. And like already you see my office full of boxes and things like that. Finally, the day comes. It's Monday morning, and you come into my office, and you're so disappointed. There's no boxes, no $100 bills like flying out of those boxes. There's literally an envelope on the table. So you think to yourself, okay, maybe it's a check. Then you open up the envelope and you see it's not even a check. You led me on. It's a plastic card. It's a plastic card as big like as a business card or that type. And you are really, really ticked off. You led me on for a year. You promised me $1 million, and what you could give me is a plastic card that it could maybe use as a ruler to make straight lines, or maybe like to pick under my nails. What am I going to do with the plastic card? And you're very upset. You walk out of the office so disappointed. And you go over to Keel and you ask Keel, Keel asks you, why are you so disappointed? He says, I was promised $1 million. I got a plastic card. And Keel looks at you and says, oh, you're so... What are you talking about? This plastic card is exactly of the same value like $1 million. What is $1 million? The power of buying $1 million. This is exactly, it's not even a concealment. The reason why it was concealed is because giving you boxes of $100 bills, you wouldn't be able to handle it. You wouldn't have been able to carry it. You wouldn't be able to work with it. We're physical people. How does God connect to us? How does God talk to us? How does God relate to us? Through the physical world. So we come and we complain, oh, this concealment, I don't see God, I don't see this, I don't see that. Obviously you don't see God. Because you have to. What our task is to do is to understand that a credit card is exactly the debit card. Yeah, the debit card is exactly the same thing like $1 million. That's our task in the world, to understand that the concealment, that is God's communication. Not only it's also God in terms of expression, it's God's revelation to us, God's communication to us. There's no difference. There's no difference between the table and the most celestial concept in Atzilus. What do you mean there's no difference? Obviously there's a difference. This is $100 boxes of $100 bills, and this is a plastic card. But the plastic card, it's true, it's a concealment. But it's a concealment only on the end of the receiver. But really, in this plastic card, if you know how to use this plastic card, it's exactly the same like the $1 million. Says Chassidus, and when you're going through a hardship in life, or when you have a temptation, what is a temptation? A temptation is a concealment of God. What does revelation mean? Revelation is when you wake up in the morning and you're happy to wake up in the morning, and you want to go learn some Torah, and after learning you want to go daven, and you want to try maybe to go to the mikveh, or maybe just to daven with a minyan, and after davening you also learn something, maybe a mishnah or two, and then you go to work, and at work too you're connected to God, you see God, and then you come home, your family, and then you learn another few words of Torah. That's living illuminated life. Well, what is a temptation? Temptation is suddenly I don't feel it. Not only sometimes I don't feel it, sometimes I have a temptation. I want to sin. I want to do. I don't like the word sin. It sounds too Christian. But I want to. I'm attracted to concealment, and then I start to wonder, where's God now? Why is this temptation driving me up a wall? Comes the Holy Zohar and tells us, no. There's nothing but God. The temptation is also God. And not only it's God, like, oh, he's coming to test you. He's communicating with you. It's a form of communication. You know, sometimes it happens sometimes in marriages, yeah, or in relationships. Yeah, you come home and you see that something is not, she's not happy. And then what is the one thing that men dread the most? So you ask her what's up, and she says, it's okay. It's okay.
It's concealing.
Or, I don't want to talk. Or, okay, we need to have a conversation. Or let's make it even more. Let's make it even more concealment. Come home, she doesn't want to come out of the room. So what does a stupid husband do? So, okay, then you want to go out? Great. But if you're smart, you understand that that's deafening silence. That's like saying, no, you didn't call me. You didn't call me the whole day. You didn't care about me the whole day. It's a form of communication. It's like, do you really care? Do you still care about me? When you have a temptation in life, it's God sending you a text message. Hello, do you remember me? Because there's nothing but God. It's not. There's no Satan with the kingdom, with this whole Christian garbage that we like. Again, I didn't mean to belittle Christianity. Now that's not my point. But I'm talking to say it's like it's all based on Judaism, and they took this idea of Satan completely out. Like we said, Psalm 23. Even if I go in hell, I won't fear, for you are with me. Yeah, there's no. What do you mean? There's hell.
Mm-hmm.
Hell. The Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, in the name of the Zohar, that when a person has a temptation, it's like a king that sends a prostitute to his son in order to test his morals.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really understand that this prostitute was sent by the king, so you can't use the prostitute against the king.
Yeah.
You'll say, oh, wow, Dad really cares about me. He wants to check on me. Like he concocted this whole plot, yeah, in order to have a connection to me. Says the Holy Baal Shem Tov that when you have a concealment in life, lack of health, lack of wealth, lack of a shidduch, whatever, it's not lack of God. It's not even an expression of God. It's a revelation of God. And our task is simply to learn how to use that plastic card and reveal the $1 million in the plastic card. Sometimes it takes a few hours. Sometimes it takes a few years. Hopefully we should get the message right away. And the Baal Shem Tov promises us that once you get the message, the sick one will be healed and the poor will become wealthy and all your problems will work out. Because the whole point of the problem, the whole point of the concealment is for you to figure out the concealment. You tell me, once Ezra figures out that plastic card is called a debit card, and you have to just go to an ATM, and you can take out money as much as you want. You can even take out $1 million. He won't do that, because what's the point? Yeah, just anytime I want to buy something, I'll just use the credit card. Will that credit card still be a concealment, or be the greatest revelation? Huh? Once you figure that out. Revelation. Yeah. Yosef.
How does this work in the case of a person and God? Like if somebody, let's say, doesn't have money or they have I don't know, any other issue, and God, like you said, they might ask, where is God? Or and you said it's all in the fact that God is concealing himself. How does that play in, like, practically? Like, what are they supposed to think?
Practically, if you understand that it's a message from God, says the Baal Shem Tov promises that there won't be any point in keeping you poor. Once you unmask that, there's a beautiful mashal of the Baal Shem Tov on this.
No, not specific to poor, but just like any like.
So any issue, once you understand that is God being masked,
yeah,
you will figure out you figure out that it's God. There's no point in the mask anymore, and the issue will go away. That's a promise by the Baal Shem Tov. You'll become healthy. You'll become wealthy.
In what? Like, what do you mean? Like,
yeah, physically, practically.
By doing what? I don't understand what you're saying.
By figuring out that is God giving you a message. It's a lesson. Once you learn the lesson, there's no point in continuing teaching, giving you the example. We could just talk about the analog. We don't have to be stuck in the analogy.
Okay, so you're.
Let's give a mashal that the Baal Shem Tov by himself used.
Okay.
There's a king. Right? A lot of the stories start with a king, right? There's a king that has a country, and he wants to test the loyalty of his citizens. So what does he do? He hires a great orator, and he gives that orator a task. I want you to go to every town and every city, make big meetings, and start a coup against the king. Says the Holy Baal Shem Tov, there are three types of cities. One type of city is the orator comes and starts talking against the king. And the people over there say, okay, we're joining the coup. Let's overthrow the king. Let's get a better government.
Yikes.
Government of the people. I don't know. The Bolshevik revolution. They just fall for it. These are the people that when there's temptations, they just give in. Oh, God is not here now. Let me cheat. It's like my wife will never find out. The other town, these are the religious dudes, the frummies. Oh, the guy makes a big meeting in the city center, and he starts talking against the king, and they start fighting him, throwing stones, clubs, get out of here, never come back. How dare you talk against the king? These are the people that fight their whole lives. Fight temptations, fight darkness. No, we're going to be strong. Says the Holy Baal Shem Tov, then there is a very smart town. What is the smart? The people in the town that are smart. The guy starts talking, and he starts talking against the king. And all the people over there, they're brilliant people. They look around. Something doesn't make any sense. Who talks against the king? Everybody in this country loves the king. Yeah, it's like we all know, Einod Mulvato, there's nothing but God. How is there something over here that is seemingly talking against the king? And they quickly figure out that this guy was sent by the king.
Wow.
Says, oh, you are sent by the king. Guys, tonight, 9 o'clock, there's going to be a big farbrengen with the shliach of the king. We're going to ask him how the king is feeling and how the king is doing and how the king really wants to know about us. Now, that night by the farbrengen, they bring the best whiskey and the best beer and the best vodka and the best foods, and it's a whole celebration. I want to know, that orator over there at that meeting, will he still talk against the king? No, once you unmasked him, it's gone. So says the Baal Shem Tov, once you understand that this problem that you're having is God communicating to you, and you understand that that's God like relating to you, there's no point in playing the game anymore. Say, God, I know that you're there. And the Baal Shem Tov promises what I'm saying now. You could look it up. It's in Toldos Yaakov Yosef, Parshas Vayakel. There's a book, the first Hasidic book printed, even before the Tanya. The Baal Shem Tov promises that once you get the message and once you see God in the problem will get solved, and everything will work out. And the sick will be healed, and the poor will become healthy, and you'll get your dream job, whatever you want. Yes, Yosef, what's your question?
I was just gonna say, like, how is somebody supposed to know what the reason is? Like, if someone's that's like sick, how are they supposed to know why they're sick? Like,
It's not why. It's not why. We don't know, but we know that it's God.
But you said once you figure out the message.
Yeah, but the message is not necessarily what exactly the message is. Even though usually there's also a message, but that's something. I know people that live that way, and it makes it, on one hand, it makes it easier, but I don't want to, like, I never saw it clearly in Chabad Chassidus to figure out what the message is. So that's why I don't want to push it.
So then, what did you mean when you said?
No, it's that it is God. That's more a general message. It's, to be honest, like for me personally, it works better when I try to figure out like more the details of the message. It's really very redeeming. But again, the idea is not so much the message, because once you turn it into the message again, it could be very self-centered. But the point is that you have to understand that it's God. It's not God not being here, it's God operating you. So to understand exactly the operation, sometimes you don't really need to understand that it's the doctor. or why the doctor is doing it. But if you're in a hospital and you trust that hospital, you understand that it's over there to. For example, let me use an example. The Talmud says that Israel is acquired with pain. You ever heard that expression? Eretz Yisrael niknet b'yisurim. Israel, the land of Israel, is acquired with pain. Says the Alter Rebbe, why? Why do you need to have pain coming to Israel, coming to the land of Israel? So says the Alter Rebbe that the spiritual light in the land of Israel is the level of hishtavus. Hishtavus means it's a certain level. I don't want to. I could explain it specifically. We're over time, so I don't want to go into that. But it's a certain level in spirituality. So basically, if a person gets the message right away, he doesn't have to go through those hardships anymore. So again, maybe we should talk about it a different day, maybe tomorrow even, if you want to go into different types of messages. Because usually there's one major message to break our stupid, senseless egos. Once you let go of your ego, but again, it's not letting go of your ego. What?
Isn't that the message? Like before you said it, we don't know the message, but like, isn't that the message?
So I'm saying, so again, I said the general message is usually that. Some people believe in like breaking down the message into very details, but then it could be very dangerous. First of all, for two reasons. First of all, it could become very self-centered. But then also you go crazy. It's like, what is exactly the general message is that we're not independent beings, and that we're over here in the world as an extension of God in order to make the world a better place, and to let go of our egos. That's the general message. But our egos, it's again, it's not just to let go of our egos in order to become like more successful people, like more letting go of our egos because the only real existence is God. And then you switch, instead of being, so to say, a recipient of God, you become an extension of God to the world. And once you are a conduit of God, once you're an extension of God, once you see yourself as an emissary of an ambassador of goodness and kindness, so you basically align yourself and you get in sync with the godly message in the world, to be a light upon the nations, to be a light upon your family, to bring goodness and kindness in the world. So you're basically in sync with the ultimate good. Then you will just be a conduit of health, wealth, happiness, and then basically the life that in the brain of a chassid. I feel so bad that I'm destroying this. This should be a series of classes, and I'm putting it into 30 seconds. Is that we understand that all the problems of lack of health or wealth or anything is when we fall out of that synchronicity. And usually the way of falling out of that synchronicity is by our egos. And the problem, again, it's not because ego is stupid. Yeah, like Dale Carnegie would say, okay, if you're stuck in your ego, you're going to destroy your ability to make friends and influence people. It's because of a divine message. Because when it's about me, then it's not about something greater than me, which happens to be God. And then when I fall out of the synchronicity, that's when lack of health or wealth come into the game. But once you go back, it's like when you unplug something from the wall, right? So maybe continue working for another few minutes, but to be in sync. That's the idea of happiness. All the ideas of Chassidus all go back to the general idea of unity of God. And what is the meaning of unity of God? Unity of God means that He exists and I don't exist. What do you mean? But I do exist. I exist as a conduit, as an extension of Him, and not being stuck in my ego. God forbid, we should discuss it more in length, but God forbid, let's say cancer. Yeah, cancer was the biggest killer nowadays, or the second to the biggest. What is the biggest? Cardiac things or cancer?
Cardiac stuff, but it's a guess.
I think for cardiac stuff, we figured it out more or less. There's so many good treatments with stents and all these things. But what is cancer? Cancer, by definition, I just find out that a cousin of mine has cancer. So this, may this teaching be for her fuah shlema, like a first
Amen.
cousin,
Amen.
a young woman. What is cancer? Cancer is when a few cells in the body, instead of being in sync with the general desire of life of the body, they gain ego. Yeah, what does it mean ego? They say, okay, we have our own plan. And that's when they start duplicating themselves and a tumor grows. And that tumor, or that cancerous cell, those cancerous cells, they continue suckling energy from the body, but they're fighting the body, which is actually exactly with a big body that is called the world. What is the life of the body? God is the life of the body. And instead of being in sync with that life, the person suckles from the life of the world and says, no, I am the one that runs the world, at least my world. I don't need God, or even if I do need God, okay, he's helping me, but I am a egotistic, I'm an independent being. So when a cancerous cell says I'm independent from the general body and starts acting with its own autonomy, that's exactly what cancer is. Does that make sense? So really, what is the message? The message is, first of all, to see God in everything. And once you start seeing God in everything, to understand how you could always synchronize yourself with God and his message. It's like a shift in the brain. Instead of being on the receiving end, to be a part of that conduit. And when you understand that there's nothing but God, and you could use every opportunity, every situation to get in touch with that synchronicity, that is the best healer, the best healer and the best wealth giver, and all the issues in the world vanish, and you're basically like plugged in with the source of goodness and kindness in life. How does Moses say? Moses says in the first chapter of Deuteronomy, "Va'atem hadvekim b'Hashem Elokeichem, chayim kulchem hayom." And you, those that cling onto God, you're alive today. Why? Because God is the ultimate life. It's the only true life. Cancerous cells also live, but their life is not real life. They're death, really. It looks like life. But real life is when you cling upon God. And when you cling onto God, there's the ultimate goodness and kindness. There's the ultimate, the ultimate life. Life of meaning, life of purpose, life of health, wealth. Whatever you do, you don't get stuck in your ego. You could think clearly. You could be a real loving partner. You could be a real loving brother. You could be a real loving son. You could be a real loving father. It's like once we get out of all of our traumas and stuckness. And you, those that cling onto God, chayim kulchem hayom, you're all alive today. Real life. Passionate life. L'chaim, everyone. If it needs more elaboration, I'll be happy to elaborate on it. Just think what